When you think of Mitsubishi, your mind automatically thinks of the Pajero, a vehicle that is well known for being hardworking and robust. However, you don't automatically think of beauty when it comes to the brand, but all that changes now with the all-new Outlander. The all-new Outlander's exterior design is based on the Japanese product concept of Ifudodo, which translates into authentic and majestic. I don't know about that, but it sounds cool. The exterior is characterized by thick, horizontal proportions, while the D-pillars are said to take their inspiration from airplane tail fins. The front is dominated by Mitsubishi's dynamic shield design, accentuated by LED front fog lamps, sequential turn signals, and daytime running lights, as well as a skid plate. There's also a skid plate at the rear, a roof-mounted spoiler, and silver roof rails. We aren't alone in our admiration of the new Outlander. Since its global launch, the new Mitsubishi has received a slew of awards, including the 2022 Australian Good Design Award, a 5-star rating in the Japanese NCAP, and Technology Car of the Year in the 2021 to 2022 Japan Car of the Year Awards, to name a few. The exterior beauty translates well into the interior because everything in this vehicle feels of a high quality. Everything I touch doesn't feel cheap whatsoever. But this car is not only good looking on the inside, it's also quite smart. I've got a 12.3-inch digital driver display, I've got a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system that gives me Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and there are other luxurious items such as this quilted leather on the seats and quilted leather on the doors. So what is on offer in the new Mitsubishi Outlander? Well, I have got a 2.5-litre normally aspirated engine, which produces 135 kilowatts and 245 Newton meters. Now, 245 Newton meters may not seem like a lot, but interestingly, when you drive this car, it is not short of power at all. In fact, when I put my foot down, the car responds quite well. And it just reminds me of the fact that most of the vehicles within this class are all turbocharged, so we've become used to turbo lag. But in a normally aspirated car like this, the power delivery is more instantaneous, but of course, it all sits at the top of the rev range. Speaking of the top of the rev range, this vehicle features an 8-speed simulated CVT gearbox. Now, CVT gearboxes are known for being drony and loud, but in this vehicle, sitting now at the national speed limit, this car isn't loud at all. I'm sitting at just over 2,500 revs, and I wouldn't even notice that I've got a CVT. It's only when you start overtaking or when you really press for time and you're in a bit of a rush, then you'd really start to hear this vehicle start to whine a bit. Considering the fact that we are on 20-inch wheels, I'm quite impressed with how this vehicle does react on the road. In South Africa, especially in Johannesburg, our roads are quite compromised. We've got potholes everywhere and we've got tons of undulations that you have to deal with. So these 20-inch wheels do really absorb those imperfections quite well. Dynamically, this vehicle does exactly what you would expect it to do. It is a medium-sized crossover after all, so we can't expect it to be extremely sporty. However, I am happy with how this vehicle reacts around corners and just how the vehicle feels on a long road like this and when you're driving in and around town. What often happens is that the experience of the driver doesn't translate into what is going on in the back seats, especially those last two seats. Speaking of those last two seats, when you've got them up, you've got 163 liters of boot space left, which isn't a lot, but it's still decent for a small bag here and there. Another nifty feature is the fact that you can actually move these seats both forward and backwards, so you can adjust the amount of space that you get as a rear passenger. Small other features that I do enjoy is the fact that you've got this pocket over here where I've got my tea stored, but I've also got smaller pockets. For instance, I could put a smartphone over here, or I could put some keys. So there's a lot of thought that has gone into this cabin and how it works for every single occupant as opposed to just the driver. Mitsubishis have long been known as great off-roaders, and that doesn't change with this new Outlander. In fact, I have got 6 different drive modes to choose from, and it just so happens that we have got a gravel road so that we can actually see how this car works within that kind of setting. Let me switch over to gravel setting, and off we go. Not much has changed from a steering weighting, and I'm actually quite surprised at how smooth this vehicle is on a not so great surface. Very Subaru-ish from that perspective, and I'm sure Mitsubishi will probably hate me for saying that, but that's okay. It's a compliment from our perspective. It's nice to know that your pretty Outlander can do stuff like this with 20-inch wheels. That is a very good thing. With the Mitsubishi Pajero no longer in production, the Outlander has now become the flagship SUV in the range. Mitsubishi loyalists will be happy to know that this vehicle does a fantastic job at replacing the Pajero.